Welcome to the BAI show. My name's James Rankin and I'm here with Derrick Wong and Liz Wong from Finer Advisory. Same last name, but no other connection other than that.
Not related, not siblings.
Nope.
Yeah,
Sometimes we say, we're cousins.
Yeah, it was funny when we first, well, probably when you guys first met at an event that we were running, and we hopped in an Uber together to go to the airport, and I was like, you guys have the same last names. Like I just remembered in my head, and I was like, bang, relationship sort of like conversation just started. You know what I mean? On how all of that went. But tell me a little bit about, we'll go individual. So like Derrick, tell me a little bit about your journey to date, like what you're doing previously, what you're doing now, and then we'll sort of open it up from there.
Sure. So I started my career as a civil engineer. So I worked in consulting for about 6-7 years, but I always had a passion for property. So 2 weeks into my career, I already knew engineering is not going to be, the career that I'm going to do for the rest of my life. So I discovered property, and at a young age, I attended all the free property seminars I could get my hands on, renovations, development, investing, active property investing, and I really grew a passion for property. And at the time, I actually had no idea what a buyer's agent was. I knew I wanted to be in property, but I didn't want to be a sales agent. And I thought the only way is to just be an investor, be a developer. And when I was about 22, I bought my first property, and it was actually a development site. And I knew that that particular property had value because of the specific zoning through all of the learnings that I had from the various courses. And that began my journey in investing. I ended up getting approval for 5 townhouses on that particular property, and it doubled in value in 2 years. And I thought, okay, this is interesting, this is working. So I ended up continuing my investment journey, getting involved in subdivisions and later on rooming house construction. And I really, really just had this passion for property, and I thought it was my way out of engineering. And funny enough, I was at a business seminar about 7-8 years ago, and at the time we had an exercise to develop a business idea, and we had to create an ebook, right, as a lead magnet for this business idea. And my business idea was, I want to help people achieve financial freedom through property, and I want to help people buy property. And I didn't know about buyer's agents at that point in time, and I just found that ebook the other day, 5 mistakes investors make when buying investment property. And I was really quite passionate about it and selling it to, the people, participants in the seminar. But I didn't understand how I could charge for it. And I'm like, who would pay for it? $3,000, what would make sense? And then a number of years later, I came across Ben. I came across his ads, and I said, wow, this is exactly what I've been looking for. This whole industry I had no idea about, right? But at that point in time, I had already sort of left my engineering career and got into property investing my own way, which was through mortgage and finance broking. I was working with investors I specialized in helping them grow their property portfolios. And I was able to provide that extra service and give them property advice. And that was my way of getting into property until I found out about BAI, essentially. So when I found out about it, I joined straight away, and I thought, okay, this is perfect. I'm not only able to help clients structure their finances in a way that will allow them to continue to build their property portfolios, but then I can also help them acquire high-performing, high-yielding properties as well. So I thought it's just an extension of what I was doing already in the finance business. And Finer Advisory essentially stands for Finance and Real Estate Advisory. So it was my vision from the get-go. And fortunately, joining BAI, joining Everest, I was able to basically, achieve that dream of being able to service clients in that way.
Yeah, it's a journey, and it's, you had it from an early age, right? Like you bought your first property at 22 is pretty awesome. Like I'd say it's well ahead of the pack. I think we're at 36 years old for first home buyers in Australia, which, I still have to wrap my head around in terms of how late people are getting into the mix. But yeah, you knew this from day one, like this is what I want to do, or even day one of being an engineer. Didn't want to be an engineer anymore, or as you sort of realised in your first couple of weeks, and it was always going to be property. I found that being common, like with people who do succeed in it, that it was just something there. You know, it was just a timing thing for them. They were on another trajectory, and then something just pushed them into the right direction, which, you know, they ended up being back in the property world. Liz, tell us about your journey so far.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so I started off when I was at uni, sort of similar to Derrick. I've got a science background as well. I did a Bachelor of Science and majored in genetics. And then after that, I did a Master of Biotechnology. And then I spent a couple years working in a medtech company in the pharmacy industry before moving into medtech commercialization. And during that time, we went into lockdown. And being in Melbourne, it was a very brutal lockdown. You know, at some point you weren't allowed to really go outside for, I think it was like you couldn't leave, like there was like a 5-kilometer radius, I think at some point, that you could go, and you could only leave to go on a walk for exercise or for like medical purposes or for essential work or something like that.
The part we want to delete out of our brain. Yeah. That's
Yeah.
why we can't remember it, like the specifics.
Yeah, that's right. And during that time, at some point, as we were locked up, I kind of thought to myself, oh, I should buy a property. And I started looking into it. And I think this is the path that most people go down, where I started thinking about, buying a home to live in, essentially. And I was looking, and you know, the Melbourne property market, it's pretty expensive. And I thought about it, and I was like, I could afford this, but surely there's a better way to get in. Like, I didn't like the idea of potentially being locked down into an area. Like, what if I don't like this suburb in 5 years' time? You can't just get up and move. It's not that simple. And I was thinking there must be, pouring so much money into it, there must be a better way to use it. And that's when I started looking into property investing and discovered rent vesting. And it became a proper fixation for me. Like, I was very intensely drawn to this and was thinking about it all the time for a very long period of time. So during this lockdown, there were many days where I would wake up at 5 a.m., even in the middle of winter, it was pitch black, to start doing research every day. And it was kind of nonstop for me. As I was getting ready for work, as I was brushing my teeth, I'd be watching YouTube videos about investing while I was putting away my laundry, while I was going on a walk, you know, because that's all we could do. Stay at home, go on a walk.
Scrolling realestate.com.
Yeah. and you know, after work, that's what I do for fun, is look into this, research, figure things out, take notes, because it is quite a bit to wrap your head around. And 9 months later, eventually I bought my first investment property. It did pretty well. And after that, I bought my second investment property. I think we might have been out of lockdown by then. We were. And I was thinking to myself, you know, it'd be great if I could do this for other people, because it's not an easy thing to do unless you're willing to put hours upon hours upon hours of research. And then even then, after you've done that, it takes a lot of time to then work out where you want to buy. And then the actual buying process itself takes a long time. And it's not just time. Like, negotiation is a whole nother skill that if you don't have experience doing this, this is a whole nother thing that you need to master, that not everyone can do in their, or wants to do in their free time. And I felt like speaking to a lot of friends and people in general that a lot of younger people don't feel like it's possible for them to achieve, that they can own a property, own a home. They don't think that it's possible to even financially be able to afford having kids and things like that, you know, and the what we're going through right now with the cost of living crisis and, you know, the cost of homes just keeps going up and up. I wanted people to understand that this is achievable because I managed to do this on a single income, both properties, and I wasn't being paid that much. Like, it was just an average income. So if you approach this with the right strategy, you can actually get in. And that's when I decided I want to do this for other people, and I discovered the course. And yeah.
The rest is history.
Yeah. We're here now.
Yeah, of course. So similar stories, passion for real estate, found out that it's something you enjoy and you just wanted to help other people doing it. Like that's the overarching umbrella, right? Mm-hmm. So we said at the start, you know, you guys hadn't met, you know, it was probably 18 months ago, somewhere around there, that we had that original conference in Sydney. Fast forward, it's November, well, it's October. I'm thinking it's November, our next event. October 2024. What has happened over the last 3 months with you guys? Like Derrick doing the mortgages, Liz on the buyer's side. What does Finer Advisory look like now?
Yeah, so very interesting how it all sort of came together. You're aware that I was looking to build out that division, the buyer's agency division of the business, and at that point I knew I couldn't do it alone because I wanted to focus more on the broader strategy of Finer Advisory and how we could really service our clients. And it was about finding the right person to partner with. And you know, through the Everest events, obviously a great network of people and individuals, you know, high performing, out there, just giving it a good crack, and just a really good environment to be around, and quite motivating. And everyone's doing, you know, different things. But of course, you're not necessarily aligned with anyone. But you know, after a few events, we got to know each other a little bit more. And at that time, you know, I was looking for someone, and I thought Liz and I share very similar values in terms of the direction we want to go in business and our personal goals as well. And then more importantly, our investment philosophy and why we do what we do. So I thought it would be a good opportunity to see if we could come together and you know, create a service, a holistic service to support our clients. And essentially we started talking 3 months ago, and about a month ago we sort of laid out the structure, what it's going to look like. And within a month we essentially set up a CRM system. We hired our first team member as well to assist Liz. We have also signed on 2 clients, buying for 2 clients at the moment, and about to onboard about 4 more. So, and at this point, we still haven't really, you know, expanded or advertised the service to my existing database, but that's just around the corner as well. And the benefits we can see already in being able to work so closely together. My team of finance professionals, I've got brokers, credit analysts, and settlement officers. Them being aware and understanding this buyer's agency side also means that we can provide that extra level of service to our clients, because we're doing them a disservice by not offering this, right? Because they don't know how to buy the right investment property or the right home. They don't know how to negotiate, how to get off-market properties, or how to do proper research and have visibility over numerous websites and all the software and tools that we use. They don't have all of that information. And so by not offering it, I feel like we weren't giving them the best value. So since Liz joining, we did some really great exercises as well. And this is great for any other buyers agents to do for their own business. We mapped out a typical buyer's agent, a client journey, and really broke down, what are the tasks throughout each stage of the journey, and how long does each task take? And through doing that exercise, we were able to uncover that Liz is spending many, many hours sourcing properties, and we could already see, okay, there's an opportunity there that we can hire someone to assist so that Liz can focus on more, productive tasks, and that's supporting clients on the front end. And yeah, already that saved Liz a lot of hours, and we're able to put on a team member pretty quickly.
Yeah, it's already progressed that quickly. So yeah, because that's where my mind goes, and I said this before we jumped on. I see it being really the future of the industry. Like, the leads originate most of the time with a mortgage broker. I get it, some investment buyers agents have those networks and those connections with content, and they'll reach out to them first and then they can refer on. But a lot of the time, people go, maybe an accountant, they say, hey, I want to buy an investment property. Cool, go and talk to a mortgage broker. Go and talk to your mortgage broker, however that is. You have the discussion with them. You get them, you spend all this time on getting them a pre-approval, and then it's like, cool, you guys go and figure it out yourself. That's the traditional method, right? You guys didn't see that being a good, I guess, process for a client to go through. Even like individually, if as a buyer's agent, you would identify, hey, this person's lost, so I can service them. But then as the mortgage broker, hey, this person's going to be lost. Let's get ahead of the curve and mash the two together, because at the end of the day, it's like, it's a very, very natural progression of that client. And that's where you would have gotten to with your client journey. You know what I mean? Like, they've come in, they've submitted docs, they've got their pre-approval, they're having a discussion with the buyer's agent team, and then the buyer's team will go and execute the plan. So that progress to me, or the progress bar of a purchase, is totally aligned. Like, mortgage broker plus buyer's agent. It's just, it's the way forward. I had a business that was doing that, so I know exactly what it is to run that. And then, Liz, on your side of it, the receival of those clients, like the ones that have come on quite early, because you'd service some clients beforehand, like as a buyer's agent, and now already there's 2 clients and another 4 that you're going to onboard. How has that process looked for you versus doing it yourself, like outside of the business?
It's completely different. Like, it's so nice having all this additional support, so that you know that you're giving each client all the attention that they deserve. Having the additional support of the staff member means that instead of having to prioritize what you're doing every day, because you, as a buyer's agent, aren't in control of what's happening when you're closing a deal, things happen really quickly and you kind of have to just jump on top of it. And if you've got a few other clients that you're also buying for at the same time, you have to pick and choose what you're doing at any given time. So that's what typically happens. And in terms of being able to work very closely with the brokers, that's been really great as well. Because from the client's perspective, very often what I find is that they are almost acting as the messenger between the broker and the buyer's agent, and says, oh, okay, this is my budget because my broker says that. But they don't fully understand to 100%, their own financial situation. And that's because, and that's totally fair, because they're not mortgage brokers, they're not in the finance industry. They submit their documents and things like that, and they get told something. And so being able to work with the team in such a close capacity has really enabled us to take a very holistic approach when it comes to developing a strategy for each individual client, because each client is in a different situation. And particularly, the clients who need the most help are the ones who are first-time investors. They don't know what they're doing. They don't understand the different investment concepts, let alone having to marry up, what exact financial position they're in, what they're able to achieve, how best to maximize their borrowing capacity, and what type of purchase to make. They're not going to know that. So being able to work very closely with the team means that we can chat amongst ourselves very easily and really zero in on the detail to work out, right, for this client, this is the best approach, and we can explain that to them together.
It's so important, like what you were talking to there around making the best use of the opportunity, because they have limited opportunities, right? Like, it's non-transactional. You mentioned that before. If you're locked into an area, very, very hard to like get out of it. So the transactional nature of property is not like shares, where you can just like buy shares today, dump them tomorrow. Like, it's not that easy. You could do it in property, but it's going to take you some time, and then also a lot of money because of your stamp duty and then selling costs in and out. But that connection piece and making sure that they are making the best move and making sure they are maximizing that opportunity. I guess your overall investment philosophy is not going to be cookie cutter, right? Like, people are at different stages. So it's assessing, hey, these guys might just want set and forget. So they're going to go capital growth. These guys want to keep stacking stuff, like they're very okay with risk. Maybe we're going to take them interstate and, you know, buy in a regional centre, or someone might need a rooming house, you know what I mean, or a commercial property down the road, because you've had some experience with that, and the understanding of the different finance options allows them to open it up, because that's what has been something that I have noticed a lot when I was, you know, we had a mortgage broking business in our business, like we were one business. My information and my knowledge just grew so much on the available options, because I thought I could only do this thing. But when you pair it together, like the property knowledge plus the finance knowledge, the constraints are gone.
Yeah.
So your clients just have massive amount of opportunity to leverage their opportunities. So yeah, it's fantastic. Like, I love the fit. I've probably mentioned that a few times already. But what's like, where to from here? Like, where do you guys sort of see the business going? I know you've got a vision for it. You've had a vision for the start. Is it just helping as many investors as possible, growing the team out? Like, what does it all look like?
Yeah, so we want to create a business that can make a client feel as though they're looked after every step of the way through, right? And it begins with understanding what their goals are. It's easy to talk about goals, but, you know, can it actually be executed? And that's where the collaboration comes into play, where we understand or find out what the client's goal is, and then we determine, can we actually implement this, help them achieve this goal? You know, what does the finance structure look like? You know, do we need to, you know, stage their financing in a way that will allow them to achieve that goal, where if they were to go straight to the bank and say, this is what I want to do, the bank would just say, sorry, you can't do that. Whereas if the client gains some financial clarity working with a broker that, you know, is an expert in structuring their finances in a way that will allow them to continue to move forward, then that just opens up the door, as you mentioned before. And then it's about executing. So once we understand their goals, we understand, okay, from a finance point of view, this is how we can achieve it, then, you know, we can come in and execute it for the client. So our goal really is to, you know, continue servicing Australians, building their property portfolios, buying property all around Australia, and not just limited to owner-occupied property or, you know, long-term buy and holds. We also help clients project manage subdivisions, rooming house construction, and eventually aiming to get into the commercial space as well. But I think there's massive opportunity there, because when it comes to finance, there are different stages, different levels that clients can sort of progress through to grow their property portfolios. And we understand this because we work with a lot of these investors that don't want to stop. They want to continue. They don't want to be told, no, you can't borrow anymore, you can't do any more. But, understanding financing, commercial financing and all the options available there, and, different industry secrets that, a lot of a standard broker that just deals with owner-occupiers may not really understand. We can help these clients, build wealth through property.
Yeah, it is behind the curtains, you know what I mean? Like, that has been one of the biggest eye-openers for me, is what is behind the curtains, because it's totally different, you know what I mean? Like, once you do get behind the in finance, so there actually are options, and yep, a lot of the mainstream brokers just don't understand those nuances to it. And yeah, if you do meet someone that's across finance, it's kind of, I remember the first time I had a conversation with someone that understood it, and even conversations we've had, I was just like, what? Like, what do you mean? That's the thing. Even the commercial element where it's the lease stock.
Lease stock, yeah.
Yeah, like lease stock, all that kind of stuff just is kind of crazy to understand. Whilst it's hard to find properties that would tick that box, it's still an option. Even asset transfer, I was just like, what is this? Are you serious? Like, you can just transfer the asset and you don't have to go for a new loan.
Yeah.
All those kind of things like blew my mind.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you're a buyer's agent, even if you're not, but understand and like speak to people about financing, because it is the biggest limitation in this world.
There's so much to it. And we always say, clients, you just don't know what you don't know, right? We've got a team of 8, 9 at the moment, and credit analysts that research credit policy day in, day out. We get banks coming in every week to give us updates on policy, what's new, what's coming up. So we love it when a client comes to us to say, oh, broker told me no, bank told me no. We go, okay, let's see what we can figure out for you, right? And through our understanding of the different options out there, and utilising the full suite of lending options, including second-tier lenders, third-tier lenders, non-banks, private equity lenders, there are options out there. And sure, they come with different rates, different fees, and all that kind of thing. But it's the solution that we're providing to the client. And if it works for them, if the feasibility makes sense, then it's a deal. And that's what our focus is, providing that solution to our clients.
100%. And that's what I've seen too. Like, you can go third tier, it's going to be the most expensive. And then you can look to get to second tier and then back into the big 4 or big 5. I've literally seen that before my eyes, because a deal is there on the table. Like, it's more about the execution. Like, how do I get access to those funds? I can go over here. There's less policy. They're going to allow me into it, and then I can, refi in the future. But Liz, what's, I guess, one of the biggest learnings that you've had so far in the BA space? Like, let's just talk about the overall buyer's agency space, and like what you've learnt to date running and submitting your resignation in the medtech space. To put you on the spot.
Yeah. My biggest learning to date, I would say, is you need to trust in the process. I have actually had someone, I'm not sure, I know they're a part of BAI, not sure if they're part of Everest, reach out to me recently to kind of go, oh, I've just started out, do you have any advice? And I asked, oh, have you signed your first client? And he says, no, I haven't. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. I'm like, well, you're probably not doing anything wrong. You probably just need to keep doing what you're doing, trust the process, follow it. The first client is the hardest to sign. And when you sign that first client, you're going to do such a good job that they're going to tell all their friends. And then they'll bring you your second client and your third client and so on. And it'll get easier from there. So that was one thing I learned. And, going into this was the first business I've ever gotten into. And it was really scary. But what I realized is that you can actually lean in on your past experiences as well. You because I wasn't in the real estate industry. But at the same time, looking back, you know, my first role in that medtech company in the pharmacy industry, I was a account manager dealing with pharmacy groups. And part of that job, you know, I had to negotiate and do deals with these pharmacy groups. And sometimes, and I was a lot younger back then, it was a long time ago, it was very intimidating going up against these very experienced, could be a director who owns 50 or 100 pharmacies, or a national buyer who negotiates with suppliers every day and having to do deals with them and negotiate and close deals with them. You know, it was a big learning experience for me, and I've taken that into this role now. And now I really love negotiating with real estate agents, because that is the most exhilarating part for me now. That's super fun. And, you know, you might not realize it, but there are experiences that you've had that led up to this moment that will contribute to the success that you can bring on for your clients. Yeah.
That was a pretty good wrap on what your wins are, or the things that you've benefited from or learnt. And it's so true. Like those learnt experiences, the transferable skills as well. Like you'd learnt how to negotiate. I didn't even know that that's what you'd done in the previous role, like negotiating with these big pharmacies and whatnot. It's pretty amazing, right? And if you get excited about the negotiation element of real estate, like, yeah, your clients are in a good spot. Because I can tell you right now, real estate agents are trained professionals, like in negotiating. However, I reckon you'd be an absolute, you'd hold your ground with everything that goes on. And one thing that I wanted to say as well, consistency, like on your side of it, like following that process, consistency is by far a standout skill of yours or attribute, because you just keep plowing on. And it's like, it'll come, like it'll happen. And your videos as well, like on Instagram, I don't think I've seen anyone other than like Timbo that we had on a couple of weeks ago as consistent on Instagram, like just putting stuff out. Because how long's that been going for now? Like that you just put a video out?
I started on Jan 1st.
Jan 1st.
Yeah.
There you go. And
One
it's
a
been
day.
every day.
Yeah.
Every single day since January 1st. That is pretty outstanding. So yeah, massive round of applause on that, because not many people can do that. Like, yeah, just following and being disciplined. And it's why there's probably another good connection with you guys, because both very disciplined people. Like you're going through your triathlon training at the moment, just keeping dialed in, right? Like just
Exactly.
have to be.
Yeah, you have to be. And that I guess that's what I saw in Liz as well. And what she said about, you know, just being consistent. You know, you don't necessarily know at what point it's all going to change, but if you give up right before it's going to come around, then, you know, you've just done yourself a disservice. So you just have to keep going, keep consistent, and it's just around the corner. A lot of people will give up. They'll try 3 times and go, oh, it's not getting any traction, but it's those that just continue that will get the result.
Yeah.
Yeah.
6 inches from gold, 6 inches from diamond. Like there's a visual where it's
Exactly.
like guy picking away, and then the diamonds are just there and they give up, you know, and they never actually get to the diamonds. So that's I mean, you guys combining that collaboration, we're just at the start of it, but can't wait to see how it all unfolds. Really appreciate your time. It's been amazing catching up with you both, and maybe in a couple of months or six months time, we'll do a recheck and see how it's all going. But Derrick and Liz, appreciate it. Thanks so much for your time.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us, James.
Awesome.